Okay. Hello, everyone. We are here to present our assessment forward presentation. Our team consists of Daryl Chi, Jake Emery, Soyoung Park, and myself, Quang Lee. We'll be walking through the research and writing cycle that we followed through the subject. So this presentation describes the implications of improving English skills for new UTS students to improve English skills through the ITC modules. So next slide. Yeah. So to begin with the research cycle, it will go through the research process. We made sure we fully understood the essay questions and the assessment criteria. This helped us stay focused and relevant for our work. We then studied key text by Simpian and Mulvey. So in figure one is by Mulvey, The Journey of Experimental Child Psychology, and figure two, Simpian's article, which is talking about the gender balance in the STEM fields. And also we also annotated these texts that allowed us to highlight important ideas and themes. Next, we reviewed scholarly sources and applied the CRAP test, which is checking for the currency, relevance, authority, accuracy, and purpose to ensure our sources were credible. After that, we drafted an outline and thesis statement to guide our writing, and we incorporated quotes from the text and revised our writing to improve clarity and coherence. So next slide. In terms of strategy, we broke down complex topics into different parts and used data and case studies from the text and structured our essay using the TIL format. So topic sentence, explanation, evidence, and link. One of the biggest challenges were to manage tight deadlines while maintaining the objectivity in our arguments. But through this, we gained valuable insights, where we learned to explain technical ideas clearly, improved our analytical writing, and strengthened our citation skills using the APA 7th edition. Most importantly, we developed our critical thinking by evaluating arguments and evidence more deeply. Next slide. From our personal perspective, this process helped me or us explain our arguments more clearly, balance objectivity, and with our personal views. We also improved our time management, especially when juggling multiple tasks at the same time. We also gained a deeper understanding of academic referencing and began to see writing not just as a task, but as a tool for future academic challenges. Next slide. So for assessment two, we focused on gender bias in STEM fields. We selected sources like news articles and that related to key themes like toy design or engineering materials and evaluated them using the CRAP test. For assessment three, we compared text with the week five reading, which was the Mulvey discipline specific text, and argued about the gendered stereotypes, bias, and analyzed visuals of gendered STEM toys and the effects of different perspectives of the perceptions. These tasks helped us apply theory to real world examples and sharpen our analytical skills. So now Daryl Chi will go through the course concept.
Yes, thank you, Quang. I will be dividing the course slides into three categories: module specializing in research, module specializing in speaking, and module specializing in writing. So for the research module, I have chosen CRAP test as it evaluates how credible your source is. This will be used when you're trying to get information from a certain source. My personal experience of it was that I cannot seem to get sources that passes the CRAP test straight from Google. And so I struggled for a while until I found Google Scholar as seen in Figure 3. I took this image from Mediapedia. So so with Google Scholar, most of the sources listed passes the CRAP test as they are peer-reviewed academic research papers. In addition, CRAP test will also be heavily used during assessment too, as it requires you to source your own sources. So I have also chosen the research question module as it helps you form research questions. So my personal experience, there's this one time I formed a research question all by myself without referring to the module. I then hand this in to the teacher in which he said it was not correct. So I realized that it might seem easy to make a research question. However, there is a very specific structure that you will need to adhere to. Moreover, research question is very important for assessment too, as the scope of the assessment completely revolves on your research question. So go ahead and review through the module as seen in Figure 2. This was taken from Technical Communication Canvas module overview made by Robert McMurdy. Okay, for the speaking modules, I have chosen academic conversation as it helps you improve your speaking skills. So not only is it applicable in an academic context, it is also applicable in a workplace context. So the skills you gain from academic conversations could easily be transferred into a work environment. So, take for example, meetings, conferences, presentations, or even pitches. My personal experience with academic conversations is people's inability to maintain eye contact and their inability to keep conversations flowing. So, in order to break the long pause, you will use academic talk moves in which you guys will learn later throughout the semester. And although academic conversations is not directly relevant to assessment 2 and 3, I really do think that it is a great tool to fill gaps in your knowledge and a great tool to improve your overall clarity and your overall English speaking skills. Okay. So for for the writing specific modules, I have chosen APA referencing as this is your lifeline from academic misconduct, which is something you guys would not like to experience. So from my personal experience with API referencing, it's the time when I did my assessment 2, when I got a credit from it as seen in figure 3. This was taken from my assessment 2 after getting my feedback from my teacher, Dave Nasserback. So I admittedly did not focus in my API referencing. I was not careful with the format and I was not careful with the italics, and as a result, I got a credit from it. So do not underestimate this power. Sorry, do not underestimate the need for strong APA reference. In addition, APA referencing is very relevant to assessment 2 and 3 as it is one of its main scopes. And outside of assessment 2 and 3, you can use it for your research papers outside of the assignments given in ITC. So finally, I have chosen the Teal method because it is very applicable for both academic context and a work context. To give you an example, you can use Teal structure for making a report or making an email or even making a birthday invitation. It is just that ubiquitous. In addition, not only does Teal help with coherently writing, not only does Teal help with writing coherently, it helps reader, it helps readers how do I say this? It helps readers read through ideas in a very systematic way. So, in my personal experience, when I was doing assessment 3, I was completely stuck until I started using the Teal method. I was experiencing what you'd like to call a writer's block. So after using the Teal method, from there on, I have words flowing out of me continuously. So, furthermore, it is also very relevant for assessment 3, in which you guys are required to make a rigorous long report. So I would then like to pass this presentation to Jake. He will be covering on the group work aspect of our slides.
Thank you, Daryl. Next slide, please. In the module tutorials, we engaged in group work activities and pronunciation activities, which I believed help build communication and collaboration skills, but these also came with their own challenges. So one of the major issues that we had to deal with were freeloaders who don't do the work but take credit for the amount of work that they should have been doing. And another issue that I had found was incoherency, where people and their ideas wouldn't connect properly and therefore would have poor coordination and understanding of said topic. As you can see in my figures 1 and 2, I've presented Robert McMurdy's, the academic coordinator's modules from the course. Next slide. Um, some strategies to overcome these challenges were to make sure to discuss roles early on in the time frame to ensure that everyone knows what they have to do when they need to do it by, and to ask questions to clarify on these tasks or information in general in these topics to understand the concepts. From my personal experience, to stay active and present in the group work activities really helped me stay engaged and help the rest of the group stay engaged, whilst also helping me contribute as much as possible to the other students. Integration in assessments, these strategies helped make our group a lot more efficient when it came to completing assignments, especially when the deadlines were really short and we had to send in drafts to make sure we have feedback on these assessments. Next slide. So for peer feedback, in these tutorials, we were tasked with giving and receiving feedback through these modules, and the same with reflection on past assignment feedback. So one of the challenges that was hard, it was hard to understand what your peers were saying due to lack of communication skills between with certain people. Um, with reflection, reviewing the feedback was a really useful tool for helping build up your confidence when performing your assessment and to ensure that you don't make the same mistakes over and over again. And figure two here shows the week six module that discusses how to give and receive peer feedback. Next slide. Some strategies for effective feedback is to make the most of it. Taking notes on all the feedback that you get is really important. Even if you don't think it's helpful now, it will be helpful in the future. And I've also learned that anyone can give advice, not just the people who are getting the high grades. Wherever the feedback comes from, it's always welcome. It's always helpful. So always be open to that criticism as well. Integration into assessments. Fixing repeating mistakes was a big thing for me, especially during assessments two and three, as the feedback given showed a lot of gaps in my knowledge and understanding of how to write a good essay or report. So taking that into consideration when going to new future assessments will be of great use to me. And the figure in this was from a source in Canvas where it reminds us that feedback learning about is about learning and continuously improving. So thank you. I would like to pass it on to So Young, who will be talking about student advice.
Thank you, Jake. So in this part, we have some pieces of advice for new students. From the part of research, students are expected to use university databases. Here you can see figure 1. This is UTS College Library module, which gives information about finding appropriate references through library. And for reading, students practice active reading, such as highlighting main idea and summarizing paragraph and keep asking question. And also skimming and scanning will be studied in this subject. And for evaluating part, students have to check for author credibility, publication year, and bias all the time when selecting references. Lastly, for writing, it is necessary to follow academic writing structure for the future assessment 2 and 3. For instance, when they write the introduction, body paragraph, and conclusion, students have to follow TL structure for their body paragraph. And also they are going to format their essay and report in APA 7 referencing style. Next slide. So compared to high school, students in here are more independent, regular study, but fewer reminders. So if you miss the deadline, everything is your responsible. So we recommend keeping track of your work process. And for critical thinking, in high school, they just memorize every information from the textbook simply, but instead of that, students are required actively analyze a text and find argumentation, and also it helps improvement of their critical thinking skills. For time management, we have fewer classes, but college wants students to study outside of the class by using pre-between reflection tutorials. Next slide. So from my personal experiences, students usually struggle with long reading text. But it will be resolved through skimming and summarizing, which we learned in technical communication class. Also, they use planned and scheduled calendar to track deadlines of assessments. As I mentioned before, everything is students responsible. So to submit assessment until due date, just keep your calendar or to-do list in your mind. And for the next one, use AI in a proper way, which supports and maintains academic integrity. For example, here you can see the figure 1, which is screenshot of Studio City main page. This will be example of proper way using AI. Studio City give you the appropriate feedback depends on your work type, such as proper formatting way for your assessment 2 and 3, or uses of academic words. And finally, don't be afraid to ask questions to teacher and friends. Next slide. And I'm going to talk about future assessment 2 and 3. So for assessment 2, students analyze the theories and arguments and also applied CREP test to show relevance and credibility of text. Also, they actually format their text in APA 7 referencing edition for assessment 2. For assessment 3, students compare the given discipline-specific texts, which are Sympian and Morbis, in terms of relevance to the research question. And also they need to analyze strengths and limitation of each text. So through these tasks, they practice critical thinking and they can improve their identifying arguments skills and evaluating evidence skills. So this is the end of our presentation and thank you for listening.